In this video, we'll discuss 5 reasons why it's crucial to keep track of the top players in your industry and their financial performance. If you stick till the end, I'll share an awesome Excel template that you can use to benchmark your financial performance against the big players in your industry. No matter the industry you're in, keeping tabs on the major players can give you a lot of advantages. The first reason to do so is to understand the business climate within your niche or industry better. As we all know, large companies set the market trends. And that's important whether you're a small business owner or a huge enterprise breathing down the necks of those key players. So imagine that you're the owner of a small retail store. By analyzing the sales trends of large national retailers, you can make better informed decisions when it comes to planning your inventory levels. I know that it's hard to find such information for your competitors, but the good thing is that if your industry leaders are large public companies, then they're bound to have a lot of this data publicly available. There are researcher reports that find really detailed data on those big players, and also a lot of the large enterprises share case studies and KPIs publicly. So even if you can't find the data yourself, I'm pretty sure a market researcher somewhere would have what you're looking for. The second reason is identifying areas for improvement. What this essentially means is that you can look at what the large companies are focusing on and try to implement this at your scale and your level. For example, if you own a small bed and breakfast place, you can visit highly rated hotel chains and look for those small details that lead to their high rankings and their high customer satisfaction levels. Then you can translate those practices to your scale, thus increasing customer satisfaction and boosting repeat visits. The third reason is to keep up with industry trends. Large enterprises and key players in an industry usually are the ones that set the trend. It's important to keep track of how your industry is developing and what's trendy right now, because this can lead to a lot of opportunity for your own business. For example, a small tech startup could look at what the big players in their specific space are doing and adopt similar features. Then they'll have the benefit of being a smaller team that can move really fast, so they can actually ship such features faster and, most importantly, ship improvements much faster than those large incumbents. In a minute, I'm going to talk about the fifth reason why you should track the performance of the biggest companies within your industry, and I'll share an awesome Excel template to help you do it much faster. But before that, reason number 4 is learning from success stories. Success stories are all over the place, and I noticed that large enterprises specifically prefer to share success stories in marketing or sales. For example, if you own a small restaurant, you can look at large chains and see success stories of their marketing efforts paying off and increasing foot traffic. Then you can scale those to your level and apply them to get much better results than if you just try to figure out your strategy on your own. Reason number 5, and my personal favorite, is to be able to tap into the power of benchmarking. Benchmarking is essentially when you grab your numbers and compare them to other numbers. Those can be like industry standards or your competitors' numbers. And something that many business owners usually skip but can actually benefit a lot from is comparing your performance to the top players in your industry. Of course, the difference in size would mean that most of those ratios and KPIs would not be directly comparable, but they can still help you identify areas where you should focus on. Now let's take a look at the benchmark analysis Excel template that I have prepared for you, and you can download it completely for free. The link is in the description down below. Before we move on, I just want to remind you that I recently started a newsletter revolving around business, startups, no-code, productivity, things like that, and you can sign up. It's free. First link in the description down below, and if you don't like it, you can always unsubscribe. No hard feelings. This is the benchmark analysis template where you can go into the income statement and balance sheet tabs and just fill out data for different entities. And another way to use it is you can fill out data for your own entity. for consecutive years and just see your development over those periods. In terms of where to get the data, if you want to compare to really huge public companies, I would go to Yahoo Finance or anywhere else where you can access like income statement and balance sheet data for different listed companies. Copy and paste those here or input them because the format might be a bit different. You always have to make some assumptions as to what should go where. The idea is to get a generally correct income statement and balance sheet, and then you can go to the first tab and it populates everything from those two. See here that we have things like liquidity ratios, for example, where we see the current ratio, and we can see that the average is 199, including our own. This is our data here. It's dummy data just to portray how you would use the template. So what you can do here is if you're in an industry where your current ratio is important, and those are usually industries that have inventory, that rely on a lot of supplier credit and a lot of vendors are involved, then something like your current ratio might be really important if you want to get a loan. And by looking at some competitors, even though the scale that they operate at is much larger, you can still get a sense of where you sit in your industry. If I go down, I have profitability ratios, and you see that in terms of profitability, we're actually doing pretty good. But when it comes to large enterprises, a lot of them often operate at a loss or near break-even because they invest a lot, they pay out huge salaries. So this might not be the best thing to look at. On the flip side, those are large enterprises that if it's not their core mission, it's at least up there with their top priorities is maximizing shareholder value. So you can see that in this example here, we're doing much better than the industry. So if, let's say, the owners of this company are worried about profitability, maybe this can indicate that profitability is not the thing that you should be focusing on right now, given the market situation with the largest players in your industry. If we go down to activity analysis, for example, and look at the fixed asset turnover ratio, we'll see that we are actually a bit more tied into fixed assets compared to some of the key players, and we are well below the average. Maybe we should think in terms of, is it possible to tie less money into fixed assets and figure out optimizations that would allow us to generate more value based off the fixed asset base that we already employ. So for example, if you're thinking about investing in a new machine, looking at the key players in your industry may indicate to you that if you're going through with this investment, you should probably be looking at it from the perspective of, can it grow your sales 7 times its value? Of course, there are many other things to consider, but what I'm trying to illustrate is that by keeping track of how the top companies in your industry are performing, you could begin to have a much better sense around your metrics and where they put your company on the spectrum within your industry. Of course, we're only scratching the surface. There's a lot more that you can go through in this template if you go in and fill it out. And this entire template is available in the description below. You can download it completely for free and hopefully gain a better perspective about your industry. Those are my top 5 reasons why you should always keep track of the key players in your industry. Did I miss something? Let me know in the comments down below. And if you want to save hours every week by introducing small automations within your daily workflows, I highly suggest you watch this video about make.com automations. Thank you, and I'll see you next week.